All right, welcome back to Vuln Vibes, everybody. Today we're diving into, well, I guess you could say a critical bug in OpenVPN
Definitely critical.
that can lead to some pretty significant server crashes. We're going to be breaking down CVE 2025-2704.
That's the one.
And this was addressed in OpenVPN version 2.6.14, so hopefully everyone listening is already patched. But we're going to go through, what exactly this vulnerability is.
Yeah, and how it works.
Yeah, and how it works and what you can do to mitigate it if for some reason you haven't already.
Right, or if you can't patch right away.
Exactly. So this vulnerability, it particularly affects servers, OpenVPN servers, that are using the TL's crypt-v2 option.
Right.
And as I'm sure most of you know, TL's crypt v2, that enhances privacy. It helps resist, deep packet inspection. But with this, new vulnerability, it can cause some issues.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with this vulnerability?
So this one is a server-side denial of service vulnerability.
Yep.
So DOS, which is, it's significant. It's not as, flashy as something like remote code execution.
Right.
But it's a big deal because you can completely take down a VPN server.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you are relying on that VPN server for, all of your users to be able to connect.
Exactly.
So what exactly is happening? How does this work? What's going wrong?
So essentially the server keeps track of, the state of each client connection.
Okay.
And this vulnerability exploits a way to corrupt that client's state information.
Interesting.
And you do that by sending a very specific sequence of packets to the server. And some of them are legitimate. They look like normal packets.
Oh, so it's not just like one, malformed packet that's just going to crash the server.
Right.
There's like a sequence. It's like a recipe,
Yeah, exactly. It's like a recipe to corrupt that information.
Wow.
And then the server, it's got this built-in self-check mechanism to, make sure everything's working right.
Wow.
And when it detects that corruption, it's like, whoa, something's really wrong here.
Yeah.
Throws up an assert message, kind of like, I don't know what to do, and it just crashes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's not good.
No, not good at all.
Especially if you're, as we were saying, if you're relying on the VPN server for, a lot of people to connect.
Exactly. It could be a huge outage.
So an attacker, if they were going to do this, what would they need?
So there's a couple of things. One, they could have a valid TL's crypt v2 client key.
Okay.
So that means they can establish a legitimate connection and then start sending these, bad packets.
Right. So they have to be a client first, basically.
Right. Or they could have a way to monitor network traffic.
Okay.
And inject their own packets during the TLS handshake.
So they don't actually have to have a legitimate connection. They can just kind of like man in the middle it, basically.
Yeah, it's a bit more sophisticated, but yeah.
Okay.
So if you're running, versions 2.6.1 through 2.6.13 of OpenVPN, and you're using TEL's crypt-v2, you are vulnerable.
Got it.
If you're not using TEL's crypt-v2, you're fine.
Okay. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing people should do?
Well, upgrade. Upgrade to 2.6.14.
Okay.
That's where the fix is.
Right. That's where the fix is. Yeah. Get that patched.
Yep.
But if you can't patch right away, is there anything you could do?
Yeah, you can disable TEL's crypt-v2.
Okay.
But, like we said, that gives you the privacy benefits.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. You got to weigh your risks there.
Exactly.
So just to be clear, we've kind of talked around it, but the impact here is the server crashes.
Yeah, service disruption.
It's not like data is getting leaked or anything.
No. The encryption holds up. There's no remote code execution. It's just that your server's going offline.
Yeah.
Which, depending on your setup, that could be really bad.
Oh, absolutely. If you're relying on a VPN to access, your corporate network or something like that, and that server goes down.
You're done.
Yeah, you're done, so.
Exactly.
So that's definitely a significant impact, even though it's not, data theft or something like that.
Right.
So this vulnerability, while it doesn't lead to data compromise, it really shows how even just these tiny little, protocol level issues can be used to just take things offline.
Right.
It makes you think, how resilient are our tools?
Yeah. And it's interesting to think about how this fits into, if you're familiar with my ATT and CK and kill chains,
Uh-huh.
how would an attacker use this?
Yeah.
Would getting that valid key, would that be like their initial access?
Yeah.
And then maybe later on they do the packet injection thing to like really cause chaos.
Exactly.
To disrupt things.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, too, about like, incident response planning and monitoring.
Absolutely.
Like, are you prepared for this kind of thing?
Right. Are you monitoring your VPN infrastructure?
Yeah, it's something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the takeaway here is check your OpenVPN configurations.
Yeah.
Get upgraded to 2.6.14.
Absolutely.
If you can't do that right away, maybe think about disabling TIL-script-v2, weigh the risks there. But yeah, thanks for breaking that down.
No problem. Happy to do it.
Really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for joining us on VulnVibes again. Stay vigilant out there and definitely review the official OpenVPN security advisory for all the details. They have a lot more information than we could cover here. But really, stepping back, think about the big picture. How could server-side denial of service vulnerabilities like this one, how could those affect your whole security strategy? It's not just about data exfiltration anymore. And what other crucial parts of your infrastructure might be, vulnerable to these kinds of attacks that you might not even be thinking about, It's food for thought. So we'll get you all on the next deep dive.
See you then.
All right.
Bye.